Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of Sketch Watch Play. I am John Fleury.
I'm Christopher Wade.
I'm Tyrone Selby.
And we are back after another little bit of a break. Sorry, we never mean for those things to happen, but this is a case where we were going to record this 2 weeks ago. And right, like 2 days before, I had a personal matter come up, and Chris said, I can't get Tyrone with me, and we talk all this for another 2 weekends. So we'll try our hardest to avoid that in the future, but, you know, real life takes priority over podcasting. But I definitely want to welcome Tyrone to the show. This has been a long time coming. And we should also, before we dive into our main topics, talk about, we have been up to some stuff online lately, both me and Chris. We have guest starred. You and I have each recently guest starred on the podcast Sketch Watch Play.
Please stand by.
Full disclosure, I screwed up. I meant to say Generation Animation. You can find them on Twitter at Gen Animation and at fanoffmedia.com. Yeah, I botched that.
Yeah.
For those who just listened to us, that is where Tyler, our guest on the Marvel episode, came from. I was brought on just as a spur-of-the-moment thing to talk the first quarter or so of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. My first time watching that, really good. And then they reached out and said, Chris, you can pick something, and we both come on. And Chris had a good recommendation that we've been meaning to talk about for a while, which is Samurai Jack as a whole, the last season and the show in general, which was really fun. Though I think everybody agreed we kind of dominated the conversation. But it was still a fun episode, and they said we'll probably guest star again in the future, but just individually. And also, Chris, you also mentioned this on the episode. You've put out a little passion project recently.
Yeah, I've been working on a little animated film called The Will of Monsters. It's about two scarecrows who meet up with a young, untalented witch, and they have to survive not only a giant flock of crows, but also each other. And it was hard putting it together.
Yeah, it's like 40 minutes long.
Yeah. A lot of trial and error. I can go into a giant story about how it's essentially a reboot of my first run I did on YouTube.
Yes, I remember those.
But essentially, it was me going back and tackling a lot of weaknesses that I had in story development, storyboarding, and also sound design, because that's where I really felt the original version on YouTube was particularly that's where I felt the issues were in the first version. So I decided to go back and give it another shot.
Yeah, and you voiced the two main scarecrows in it.
I did, and that was also difficult.
I think I told you, like, even just unbiased as a friend, I thought it was really awesome.
Thanks.
And is it public on Vimeo?
It's I'm going to make it public in a few days again.
Okay, so people try looking up The Will of Monsters in a couple days after this on Vimeo.
I'll link you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And Tyrone, I just wanted to ask, since it's your first time on the show, like, what are some of your general, like, geekdoms? I know that's putting you on the spot, but...
So you mentioned Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, one of my all-time favorite animes.
It's great.
Along with working with Chris with The Will of Monsters, I also have my own webcomic and comic and print Elements of Light.
That's right.
Which is very anime-based or anime-inspired. It's about two alchemists in a world of magic trying to create fake magic. So, you know, magic pretty much is commonplace on this planet, but only certain people physically have the ability to use it. And so for those people who don't have the talent for it or the actual innate trait for it, I guess,
if they can't bend, basically.
Yeah, correct. The normal people, they supposedly would need some kind of alchemy to help make life easier, such as, like, you won't need to have a gas stove. You can have a rock in your frying pan that can help you cook.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it. I love the look of it. Very fantastical. But we got a lot of things to discuss today. maybe technically more than ever. At least, like, yeah, we did the Marvel movies. We didn't say, like, let's talk about everyone. So one of the first things I'm going to say here is I've got a little egg timer here that we're going to try and time ourselves for each segment of. So let's get started with the current media. This is one I've been dying to talk about, and I think Tyrone as well is what I say.
What comes next? Mere mortals cannot stop. How do I beat him? You can't.
Injustice 2 kicks ass.
Man, I'm probably the only one that's going to be out of this conversation. I mean, I'll be tagging in here and there, but
you've seen it. You've seen it all. Actually, I should also mention Kristen Serena joined a couple of my other friends at a birthday party at my place a few weeks ago. My birthday was in late May, so you watched a little bit of it. But go ahead.
From what I saw of it, it's really fun looking. Like even the story mode, even the story version in Warner Brother games like Mortal Kombat and Injustice, they've always had I felt they've always had pretty intriguing stories.
This is the best story mode I've ever seen in a fighting game.
Oh,
and I already thought that the first Injustice and Mortal Kombat 10 had some good ones too, because it's the same guys, NetherRealm. Tyrone, have you played some of it?
I did not get a chance to play through the story mode. I just went through the versus mode and pretty much just ran through each character and just wanted to see what their skill sets were and, see what the fighting styles were for each of the characters.
It's a decent sized roster too. A lot of diversity.
Absolutely.
Someone for everyone. Do you have any mains?
I would say that the one that I kind of clung to. Ooh.
Right now, I'm leaning towards Green Arrow and Joker.
Green Arrow has apparently been a fan favorite from what I hear.
He's accessible.
Yeah. I'm digging that they bought in Blue Beetle for the roster. Not necessarily for my favorite as far as using, but I'm glad that they bought him in for the
are you a
cast.
fan of him as a character?
Yeah. I mean, we don't get to... Ever since Young Justice... I wanted to see more of him and see more of his character and let him grow as a Young Justice League or Teen Titan kind of character.
Yeah, the Injustice rosters make some deep cuts. Like, I had never heard of Firestorm or Atrocitus, but they seem like interesting characters. And also, going to mentioning the story mode, I guess I won't dwell on like spoilers or anything other than it's really fun. Great voice acting and facial animation, like
definitely
big step up over the first game, and just great in general.
Yeah, Harley Quinn looks like Tara Strong.
Yeah, we talked about that. I think a lot of the voice actors did facial mocap, so it's probably intentional. In fact, actually, Matthew Mercer, who played Deadshot, he said they had him do mocap even though he was wearing a mask the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Which might mean they'll do a DLC or new gear where he's unmasked. But there's actually a lot of good voice actors in it. I get Kevin Conroy back, best Batman voice actor ever. They also got the same people from Justice League for Superman and Wonder Woman.
That's cool.
They got Kerry Payton back for Cyborg, same guy who voices him in Teen Titans.
Didn't you tell me that the guy who plays Freddy Krueger is the guy who plays Scarecrow?
Yes, Robert Englund plays Scarecrow, and he's really cool. Alan Tudyk is Green Arrow.
Oh, cool.
From Firefly and like every Disney movie. A lot of other good voice actors: Tara Strong, Laura Bailey, Travis Willingham, like just people who you and I would know, and others might even know without even their names. And the character diversity and their abilities, because it's very cool. Like the circle button on PS4, they all have unique kind of passive abilities, like buffs or alternate modes or rechargeable moves, which adds to the variety. I love the way the meter burn works to power up individual moves or do that super flashy super move.
Yeah, the superpower moves are really, really cool.
Some of them just get so crazy, like Supergirl flies someone around the sun and then laser eyes them through a bunch of meteors. I did a match while you guys were over with her and Harley, and when it was over, I was just like, walk it off, Harley, walk it off, because she just gets up from it's like, whatever.
One of the things that I was really impressed with, because I've always wanted to like Aquaman, but Aquaman has always, as fans want to like him, he's always been kind of but joke. He talks to fish.
Yeah.
You know, how cool can that be? But I did love his special ability in the game. It was just like, oh, that was rough. I like that.
Wait, you mean super move?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually he's another one I like in both 1 and 2. I enjoy his moves. And also the gear system is pretty neat. The one thing that they're touting is the new, which is kind of like a loot equipment system for each character, because they also get leveled up and such.
Yeah.
One neat thing they're doing, which I love for like replay value, is the multiverse, where it's not just outside of the story mode on a traditional arcade ladder, even though that is there, but a bunch of timed rotating events with different factors and rewards. And you know, we already know they're doing traditional fighter DLC. I think Red Hood comes out tomorrow. They've also confirmed Starfire and Sub-Zero, and like 6 others. But they've also been doing gear DLC for free as part of multiverse events, because they just did a Wonder Woman movie event. Each event unlocks a bit of the movie outfit. By the way, I saw Wonder Woman yesterday. It's quite good. I have to say that. And I think that's also going to be really cool for a lasting appeal, because I've seen lots of people complaining about some of the designs, because like Joker and Harley, you can tell they redesigned them with Suicide Squad in mind. So I'm sure people would be happy if you could unlock like a classic Joker or Harley outfit. Though I don't mind either. I actually do prefer Harley's look in this to the first Injustice.
I'm kind of I've been hearing it's weird, because I've never been really quite the fan of Harley Quinn outside of the cartoons.
Yeah.
And like seeing her like, and from what I've heard, like her going out on her own, like stepping away from the Joker, and and
she's a good guy in this.
Yeah, becoming a good guy. Like her being tethered to Joker was one of my biggest pet peeves. Because I mean, I loved it as a kid, and over the years, like she stuck with him with all the bad shit, and she obviously had a conscience.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. And she felt a certain way about it. And writers of her comics like put little details where it's like maybe she does feel weird about it. Maybe she knows that she's that this is really this is a life or death situation for her, and she's actually afraid of him. And now that I'm seeing that come to light, and she's stepping away, I feel a lot better about her character.
Yeah, it's actually the idea of her actually being a good guy, and this is pretty fun. It does still touch on how she still has like some murderous instincts. And they get Joker out in one scene because he's dead in the Injustice timeline at the start of the first game. So all he does in the story mode is Scarecrow fear toxins Harley, and she hallucinates Joker like being abrasive, but then she fights back. So I think that's something Chris would appreciate. And there are a lot of other like characters who show up briefly, but I think are interesting. Like Swamp Thing's a fun character to play as.
I keep forgetting Swamp Thing is
part of the. Yep.
Yeah, I forget that he's part of DC.
His moves are a little unorthodox, but I enjoy playing as him. And obviously a lot of additional Batman characters. Actually, I would like Robin in this. It's the Damian Wayne version, and he has like a sword and mind batarangs. Catwoman's pretty fun too. She's all about the melee and the whip, and she's voiced by Greg Delisle, which is always nice.
Going back to Harley Quinn, one of the things that I definitely appreciated with her being a quote unquote hero. I can take it or leave it, but I want to see more of her dynamic, like we said with Joker or even like Poison Ivy. And when you're playing the multiplayer, you actually get bits and pieces of Harley Quinn's past relationship with Poison Ivy.
I love that in the Justice games, when you do a match, the characters have specific conversations they say to each other.
I love
it's such a cool way. There's so much personality to the game. It really embraces, and we're about to run out of time on it, but
that's fine.
It's just the story mode is a better DC movie than most DC movies.
Yeah.
Especially because it has a bunch of characters who haven't even gotten movie representation. Or at least not good ones yet. Like, and I do appreciate that you can unlock the Phil LaMarr, what's his name, Jon Stewart. Because there are a bunch of character skins that aren't just visual, they have different voice actors and dialogue. Like there's Power Girl for Supergirl, Mr. Freeze for Captain Cold. I feel like it should have been the other way around because it was Captain Cold. Vixen for Cheetah, which I got because I love Vixen's design way more than Cheetah's. And just some, like I said, they have some out of nowhere character roster, like Gorilla Grodd.
Gorilla Grodd was a surprise. You said Atrocitus. He's the Red Lantern, right?
Yes, with a floating cat.
Yeah, that always weirded me out. I'm like, what's the deal with the cat?
It's from the comics, Dexstar.
Yeah.
It's just like when you look at Rocket Raccoon or Howard the Duck. Comics can get weird.
I can imagine.
Just mass media adaptations are only embracing the weirdest more, and now that they have the clout for it.
Yeah, and the red guy throws up blood when he fights you. That's always weird.
Yeah. Well, it's also. I think Tyrone, do you read any of the comics?
I have read very, very few of the comics. So certain little tropes like the cat, kind of went over my head. I was like,
mainly trying to
I'm sure that's a thing that someone else knows about.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, because I know like the different color lanterns are based on different emotions. So green is courage. Sinestro, who's in the first game, yellow is fear, and I think red is supposed to be rage, judging by what Atrocitus does to Hal Jordan.
Violets are love. Blue is hope.
Yeah, they touched that on a lot in the Green Lantern animated series. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't watch that, but
it was pretty good.
Yeah, I heard it was. It was just was unfortunately tied to the movie. Mm-hmm. But I think we've just gone over time. So real quick, Chris, you also want to talk a little bit about Breath of the Wild, because you've played some more of it.
Okay, I make no apologies for the fact that I don't play the game well, at all.
It's hard.
No, I run around and I do the most insane goddamn thing I can think of.
Like not putting on clothes.
I'm still running around naked. But I got to the point where I met the Zoran Prince pretty recently.
Sexy Shark Man?
Yeah, Sexy Shark Man. And actually, on the way there, actually... You're not... You're surprised by Sexy Shark Man?
I'm not surprised by Sexy Shark Man. That's what makes me laugh.
I'm running around, heading up to his temple or his kingdom or whatever, and I up and say, fuck it, I have to go back and get some more heart containers because I completed some puzzles, and I went all the way back to the training area, and once I prayed up, got my heart container, I see a dragon floating along a bridge. Yeah. And I'm like, I want to go there.
How'd that go?
That didn't go well.
I assumed.
Because I got up to the bridge, I'm waiting for the dragon. I get my shit handed to me by two lizard men, and I fall off the bridge. I climb back up the bridge, find some flowers that you gotta follow and wake up the little tee-hee, you found me guys.
Oh, the Koroks.
Yeah, and I fall off the bridge again. On the fourth time I fall off the bridge, the dragon shows up. And me and Serena are watching him just fly by. It was like a genuine Miyazaki moment.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. And then the electric balls kind of showed up, and then I died.
So it was less gorgeous at the end.
Yeah, less gorgeous.
Have you heard what the reward for getting every Korok seed is?
No. What is the reward?
I think there's literally over 900 of them. Yeah. Because they're used to expand your inventory when you meet up with this big Korok. If you get all of them, this is not a joke. He gives you a golden Korok turd. It does not do anything.
Oh.
It is just like a troll.
I don't like that.
Yeah, don't try and get every Korok.
Yeah, that pisses me off. I don't like that.
Yeah. See, that's okay.
That's a letdown.
This is not my style of game, but of course, Serena has been playing it and Chris has been playing it, so naturally, I have to now play it because I need to see what. And of course, all the interwebs have been blowing up about Breath of the Wild, and it's undeniably gorgeous. So I'm like, okay, I'll play it. It's not my style of game, so I'm already going into it like I'm going to hate it, but it's pretty as hell.
Yeah. I've said before, I am disappointed by the de-emphasis on story compared to previous Zeldas, but I think it's one of the best, feudal open world just experimentation and exploration games I've ever played. Nintendo was not lying when they said this is about freedom, this is about exploration, discovery, and just what that brings. Mission accomplished in that regard.
Going to be the blasphemy that I'm going to say all over the podcast is I do not like open world.
Okay.
I want a trail to follow, point me that way. Do not let me go anywhere else. I just want to go where you tell me to go. Because I don't want to fight anything I'm not supposed to. I don't want to go to some random place and then have to I'm supposed to be all the way in DC and I end up in China and now I have to walk all the way back to DC to pray to this person and I'm all the way off the West Bubblefuck beaten path.
The West Bubblefuck?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm sorry to tell you this, but Nintendo has said they're very likely to make open world the standard for home Zeldas now.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why I haven't touched Nintendo for the past 5 years until 5 days ago. So
I gotta say, like, Zelda has never really been my kind of game either. But I do love open world, and I love it when I can. I love it when I can do whatever the hell I want. And
my favorite thing is that there's usually, in a good open world game, there's usually always something interesting around the corner in terms of side quests or collectibles. Like, it keeps you busy and it keeps you occupied. I like that.
Yeah. I recently decided to go towards Hyrule Castle, and you're not supposed to go there at all.
Not for a long time.
You do everything you're supposed to. The game outright warns you, hey, don't do that.
You're going to get wrecked.
You seem like you're confident because you ain't wearing any clothes. Let's be serious. Don't do that. And I'm like, I'm going to go do it. And I die like 4 times fighting a lightning mage guy. I try to sneak around all the guardians, and they zap the shit out of me. I get a horse killed.
Yeah,
we were sad.
That's a shock for people who don't know that's a thing in the game now.
It is a thing. I also got my first horse killed. I was very sad, and I mourned him. And then I almost so random thing. I was like really excited. I was so damn excited. Mm-hmm. I almost caught a skeleton horse.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, we mentioned those.
Like, I was like, what is that? I want it. And then I was getting its loyalty, I kept patting it and feeding it apples and blase, and I happened to get off for a second so I can go get a flower or something that was on the ground, and I turned around and it's walking away, and I'm just like, no, wait, get your bony ass back over here. Mm-mm. And then it disappeared.
It never really liked you.
It did. No, it lied to me.
Okay.
It has no heart.
Yeah, I think that Breath of the Wild is a very fun game to talk about because of all the crazy factors in it. And I think we actually do need to move on to our big topic, which is
our main
a lot
event.
of things to talk about. Though I do need to render first, so give me 1 minute. So this is another big retrospective we're taking on because it's not just one show, it's many shows in a very long-lasting and iconic franchise, that being a little thing called Transformers.
Oh, boy.
But this might surprise people. We're basically discussing everything but the original cartoon. Per Chris's request, did you guys not grow up with the original?
I didn't catch the original that often, and I don't know that much about G1 to really talk about it. Like, I know the mainstays. I know Optimus, I know Bumblebee and Megatron. I know there's Unicron and Starscream, and they're all fighting on Earth to either resurrect Cybertron or to find mechanical or spiritual electronic MacGuffins to help the war along between Decepticons and Autobots.
The reasoning behind this is, like, you didn't want to pick something you didn't really have experience with growing up. So I guess because Transformers has just been such a massive franchise. There's so many different iterations of it in TV alone. There's also comics, games, movies, but that's a story for another day. But so I guess we should probably start with I guess it was. Let me just set the timer so we can have time to talk about all of this. This is the one we're prioritizing. I guess this is the first one each of us saw, that being Beast Wars.
Yeah. Yes. That was actually my first real, genuine experience with Transformers.
Yeah. This was me and Patrick's. This was our only real Transformers childhood thing that we were invested in. Even then, we only saw several episodes, but we did have some of the toys. Because we each got our favorite Autobot. I got Rhinox, Patrick got Cheetor.
Man, you were lucky.
And I think we owned the Ant Predacon. I can't remember his name, and maybe one other. He's not in the first, because for most of these, we watched the first 2 episodes for this episode, for this podcast.
You're lucky because I mean, my household only had enough money for one franchise at a time. So if it wasn't Tiny Toons, it had to be Power Rangers.
Oh,
And if it wasn't Power Rangers,
then
then it had to be something else.
Yeah,
so I was like, can I have toys? You can only get one.
Yeah.
I'm like,
something interesting about Beast Wars, it's technically a sequel to the original show because it's not the same group of robots, even though Optimus Primal is very similar. But it's long after, and I think the idea is that they accidentally time travel to prehistoric Earth or something like that. So,
yeah.
Well,
ancient.
To my understanding, Beast Wars was the prequel to everything.
Oh,
because it's before it's dinosaurs. There are
the
no
time warp
humans.
thing is, but I think the idea is the time period they originally came from is after the original. So it is and it isn't.
And so it was in the future?
Yes and no. It's the same timeline, the same universe. Let's just go with that.
Okay.
But it's an interesting. So the idea is a group of Autobots and Decepticons crash land on this planet. Is because of the energon. Like energon's like the most valuable mineral resource in most Transformers stuff. It's this like sparkly crystal stuff. They find out that the robot form will suffer damage to prolonged exposure, so they adopt the local like life forms. So the Autobots become what is it? I know the Decepticons become the Predacons.
And then Autobots became
Maximals?
Maximals.
Yeah. And
they were offsets of Autobots and Decepticons.
And it is funny because the characters are the thing I definitely want to talk about with the show. One, there are a lot of voices in this that I recognize because it's a bunch of Canadian actors, but a lot of ones who were on that original dub of DBZ before Funimation took over.
I remember. Wasn't the guy who played Cheetor? Wasn't
it was
Goku at some point?
That's what I'm saying. You can totally hear Goku in his voice. And Scott McNeil, who voiced both Rat Trap and Dinobot, was Piccolo.
Yes, those are my favorite guys.
Yep.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I thought I was remembering what I did about the characters. I thought I was like Rat Trap was going to get on my nerves. He didn't. Cheetor did. He's like a little too trying too hard to be hip and rebellious.
Cheetor was the go-to. If I'm an average American boy who wants toys, I would want the cool cheetah.
He's Michelangelo.
Like, no, I want the dinosaur.
I liked Rhinox. Still pretty good. I like that he's kind of like the wise, calm one of the bunch. But also, I do want to talk about the big voice actor I love in this. Megatron's voice in this is fantastic. It is this.
Oh my God. Okay.
Do you know who it is?
We're all under the understanding that Frank Welker plays a magnificent Megatron in Transformers Prime and the originals, but whoever did Megatron in Beast Wars, I forget his name.
No, it's David Kaye, who is also Clank.
He was Hank?
No, Clank. Ratchet and Clank.
He was Clank and Ratchet and Clank?
Yes. A lot of range on that guy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll come back to that.
He's fantastic.
He is fantastic in Beast Wars. Like, his crazy borderline madness monologues are just the best, and he always end them off with
That's the main thing I remember, just yes, like he's relishing in his evilness.
I'm like,
But the most interesting character overall, and one I know that fans love, is one Dinobot. He's basically the Starscream template, kind of, which is that he's kind of the right-hand man but instead of just trying to overthrow Megatron, I think the idea is he constantly flip-flops allegiances. So at the end of the first episode, he leaves, and there's this really nice thing where he challenges Optimus to a duel on this, like, bridge. But you kind of find out he has a code. Optimus almost falls off, but he doesn't attack then, and he says that would be dishonorable way. If I'm going to beat you, it has to be by my own hand. And then Optimus saves him. At the end, he saves him from Megatron, and then says, "We're even at this point."
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the strongest things about Beast Wars, and I know like a lot of Transformers enthusiasts don't like Beast Wars, or even worse, Beast Machines that much. But seeing that character dynamic with Dinobot for me made the show.
Yeah,
he's the best part writing wise.
Yeah,
and the Spider and Black Widow,
Black Arachnid. Yeah,
she wasn't in the opening episodes.
Those anti-heroes kind of a character.
Yeah.
And what was I getting at? But I didn't know it was that unpopular. I thought it was one of the more popular Transformers shows. But
no,
every now and then I'll meet a Transformers fan.
I do want to say, visuals very dated. characters look all right, but the environments look like a PS2 game at best.
Well, it was a product of its time.
Yeah. We talked about that when we mentioned like the Rayman show and Donkey Kong and stuff. Like, yeah, they gave the best they had. It was the same people who did Reboot, which is another good show, but it also looks dated. And I also thought the constant electric guitar was a little over the top with the soundtrack.
But there were two things that made Beast Wars, for the people who love it, this is the reason why they love it, and the people who hate it, this is to my theory as to why they hated it. There were two reasons. One, there were no people. Two, there were no cars.
Oh.
So it's just really anti-staple Transformers, even though as a story, it was a really amazing story with an amazing cast. Because Beast Wars, I felt like, had the best overall cast because everyone had their own
quirks,
character, and their own quirks versus tropes.
Yeah, I didn't get. I was watching enough to see all the Predacons be distinct, but you can tell immediately the four different Maximals, like they're very different from each other.
Yeah,
the closest is Optimus and Rhinox, but Rhinox is a little more calm and and reserved and just kind of a mentor almost.
There were times when you can tell that certain characters just weren't matching or weren't doing well either in the toy department.
Or would they be written out?
Or even in the focus testing or whatever. Like Tigerbot and the Owl Maximal. Like I forget the Owl Maximal, but they were
like the Indian.
Yeah, they were like
they
had like a very like strong kinship.
Yeah,
but honestly, they were very one note characters.
Yes, they were.
They didn't have like a lot of dynamics between any of the other characters besides themselves.
Do you know who I also remembered that stuck with me just because of how he talked was Waspinator? That goofy voice. But I did want to say, because you brought this up, Tyrone, as Regent's divisive, I think this spoiled my view of Transformers because I prefer it to be just robots and not humans, which I think we're going to get to with some of the other shows.
I had once I watched Beast Wars, and then, see, I was ignorant because I'm 4 years after Chris, and so Beast Wars was my first interaction of quote-unquote Transformers.
No, me too. Me and my brother.
So then I got to know the staple Transformers, and I'm like, why the hell are all these humans here?
Yeah, because that's how everything else is. Beast Wars is kind of an exception.
Why is this important? It's not. It's always a hindrance.
From what
especially the movies.
Double backing with the and double backing with the original Transformers and even with the movies. The reason why I found that people didn't like Beast Wars growing up, or even liking it now when they have to go back and check it out on stream, is that these aren't the original guys. These aren't Optimus. This isn't the legendary Megatron.
It's Transformers to Next Generation.
Yeah,
correct.
And that's why people kind of just wrote it off like, this isn't the sequel to Transformers that I wanted.
Wow.
I wanted actual Optimus Prime. Of course, I skipped the original Transformers as a kid and jumped right into Beast Wars because holy shit, it's 3D.
Animals.
I'm like, this looks like
they took that idea from Big, where Tom Hanks was like, well, they turned like bugs and animals instead.
And I'm like, this looks like Reboot. Holy shit, they're the same group.
Yeah.
There were things that didn't quite work with Beast Wars, but there were still times when I was like, I don't give a shit about these things that don't work because the show is so strong on its own.
Yeah, the kind of show it is, there's some clear effort put into it.
Yeah, there were definite arcs and like raises and rises in tension where you thought it was supposed to be like a filler episode when Cheetor has to go prove himself or something. Then you find out that, well, Megatron's going to shoot the moon.
Right.
We do need to move on, but let's touch on Beast Machines real quickly because I watched the first episode of that. That's apparently an even more divisive show because that is a much more darker show from what I saw.
There were fans of Beast Wars when Beast Machines came along. It took such a hard left that people were like, they're organic now, or they're
the visuals got a huge upgrade. Like the environments are lighting way better. The Maximals get new models at the end of the first episode. It's like, man, like the couple of years in between did you some good.
Yeah, Optimus Prime actually looks like a gorilla.
not like plastic and stuff. They all look pretty better, and they all like Rat Trap is more like lean and sinewy. It kind of fits his personality more than just a normal rat.
Yeah,
it was really interesting because Beast Machines, so they go back to Cybertron from what I remember.
Yeah, we can't dwell on it too long, but go ahead.
And so it seemed as though now that these machines are back on their machine planet, now everything became spiritual based, and it's like, what? These things
it apparently does tackle a lot of heavier and more surreal themes.
It was it was definitely more spiritual, and the themes were a little bit more heavy.
That's why it's more divisive, because like it's not the same mood as Beast Wars. It is darker, and that's obviously a give or take thing with people.
Yeah, there were things that I did like about Beast Machines, though, and I did like the visual upgrade. I did. I mean, are you frozen?
He's frozen. Oh, there he is.
Okay,
there we go. You're fine
I didn't
now.
hate Optimus Prime's. I didn't like Optimus Prime's weird yoga kind of meditation guru kind of deal that he turned into. Like, everyone must be at peace and look within themselves. I'm like, so are you going to scream maximize?
Right.
Come on.
This is the wrong monologue.
No, it changed to I am transform. Not as catchy.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Yeah.
But okay, we do need to move on. It's going to get ugly now. It's time to talk about the 2001 Robots in Disguise anime, which this is one that seems to come and go and not many people talk about. And rewatching the first two episodes, like, yeah, there's a good reason. This is shit.
Here's problem number one that I had immediately within the first 5 minutes of watching Transformers Robots in Disguise. Your ginormous ass robot on Cybertron. Who are you disguising from?
You're talking about 2015 and not 2001.
No. Okay, so these are two different titles.
Two different.
2001 is the anime with like the other Predacons. Did you watch that one at all, Tyrone?
I watched 2001 earlier this morning.
Man, holy
shit, is that bad?
We got to talk about this. It's bad from the first.
Other bad ones.
Yeah, that's bad from the first 2 seconds.
Sorry to interrupt. Robots in Disguise came on during 4Kids takeover of.
No. It was Fox Kids.
It came during a big Pokemon boom.
Yes.
And once that showed up, and there was a lot of weird, shitty, choppy production values going into it, but
it looks awful. It's so funny. Like it almost looks like a throwback to like bad 80s cartoons, like Field Trips, in terms of its production value. Like there's in the first episode, you see there's a shot of Megatron. He's supposed to be walking from behind through a city, but he's just sliding. You're still hearing thump, thump. And they also do a bunch of shitty split screen, like the main kid, Koji or something, which is like the humans in this are the most archetypal anime 101 designs. It's kind of jarring and silly, but it's like
there were so many. That anime is the very first time ever that I've ever said Optimus Prime looks like shit.
Oh, yeah, so does Megatron. They give Megatron like lips. And but also like just even the editing, because like in the first episode they keep reusing a shot of the kid Koji, he's sitting in Optimus Prime, and they do a screen in screen thing where it's just him, and then it cuts to like 3 times just staring blankly like for seconds.
Because he's sitting in a chair, and Optimus is like, I have to put you in the back, and it's not the original Optimus Prime's voice. So it's
there are no returning voice actors in this.
Yeah, I'm not sure who it was, but it was. Okay, I'll get on that in a second. But Optimus was like, I got to put you in the back, and you see a shot of the kid just getting like tweened back, and then like John said, the screen itself, like a comic book frame, just scales back into Optimus
There's not even a border. There's nothing
stylistic
about it. It's just lazy. And even like it's a lot of new Transformers, and they suck. Like the Predacons, there's like gas skunk, and there's like a flying squirrel. The one thing I remember from the commercials is a land shark eating a truck, because apparently there's this one female character who keeps popping up, and her entire gimmick is that they keep eating her vehicles.
Yeah. That's what got me too. Okay, so one of the Autobots is driving, right? And he has this weird obsession with good-looking cars. So he drives up to this girl who's in a good-looking car, and he's like, "Hey, baby, I like your chassis. You've got a magnificent looking transmission."
And she's
there.
like, "Oh, he's talking to my car."
And as an adult, you're hearing this, you're like, "What? What are you saying on this children's cartoon?"
Right.
And And like his older brother Autobot rolls up and he's like, "Hey, you better stop that, or I'll give you a lead pipe or something." And I'm like, "What?" No. I'm like, "What is happening on this 4-kid show?"
Saban, actually. This is I think it's the same group who dubbed like Digimon.
Yeah, because Mimi from Digimon was in that.
She was that woman.
Yeah, she's that woman, and as that woman, she's driving along in that good-looking car that this Autobot is hitting on. And she's like, "Why is this motherfucking car talking to me?"
It's so dumb.
And I'm listening to it. I'm like, see, when I'm in my car, I don't hear other people yelling at me. All I hear is lips moving. Why aren't you doing that? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's great. There is a squirrel on the road. Fuck you.
There are two other things I want to discuss. One, this show apparently premiered on September 9th, 2001. Mm-hmm. 2 days after it premiered, they had to scramble to like edit and rewrite a bunch of episodes with like property destruction.
Yeah,
it was an already bad show getting like hacked to hell. And also, Chris, I'm sorry, but Optimus introduces the girl who runs their headquarters, who is a holographic anime girl.
Yes, there was a holographic
and I was thinking of
headquarters, and there's a girl that was a holographic, and I don't like you for making that joke.
Yeah,
blame Colin. He's the one who started it.
I don't like you. I
We're back to holographic wife.
I hate this conversation. I do not have a holographic wife. I don't want one either. I'm just saying, though. I gotta bring this up.
Have you? For a lot of these characters and shows, I looked at the Transformers like Wikia. It is the most tongue-in-cheek fan wiki I've ever seen, because for this girl's character page, all her image captions are lines from Spaceballs.
Oh God!
And I wrote this down. I copied this because this is in the trivia for this character, word for word.
So we're talking Spaceballs with Rick Moranis? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, the movie.
Okay.
Little lines like "never show this again," and she's gone from suck to blow. But okay, no, listen. This is a paragraph from the trivia for this character, Ty. Ty quietly weeps through the entirety of the end credits sequence of the Japanese version of the series. Why is she crying? Is it because Optimus is slowly coming to run her over? Is it because the end credits song is ponderously poetic? Is it because she sees how Takara Tomy will turn into a van service character in future merchandise? We may never know.
Oh God!
Oh no! This is horrible.
I hate this. This show is so bad.
Now, here's my thing, because Transformers had I went through the Wikipedia. I did a bunch of lore researching. I'm a big story-driven guy, and so I went through the lore and everything. And the lore is really good. Like, there are a lot of different sub-factions besides Autobots and Decepticons, and it's like, okay, where do all of these sub-factions of Transformers fit into this war and everything? But you never see it.
You don't get any of that in this show, really. Just a little bit of setup.
You don't get it in any show except for Beast Wars.
But you get the shark. You get the flying shark robot.
Land shark.
Yeah. He shows up and he's like a street shark, and he hates. Well, all right, so Optimus Prime like. They have to get a bomb out of the city, or else thousands will die. More on that in a second. Optimus Prime shows up, and he shoots water. He has like a fire hydrant, because he's like part fire truck, and he shoots water at Skybite, the Sharkticon, or wherever the fuck it's called, and he shoots him and the bomb off the stratosphere, like way out in the space, and then the bomb explodes, and an explosion for this bomb, I kid you not, lights up Paris. It is
what?
So when they say that thousands die, I'm like, you really underscored that number. That's a huge explosion.
That's millions.
That was the sun. That was the sun exploding.
We do need to move on, but like let's just sum it up. This show is shit. But I would actually say, because the episodes are on YouTube, I got some genuine laughs out of how incompetent it was.
Oh, so did I.
Look up at least the first episode or two. You'll see all the shitty editing and animation guffs and writing and tropes. And this show is forgotten for a reason.
It's bad.
Let's briefly move on to the next show, which is also an anime. And me and Patrick, this is one of our biggest disappointments as well, because this was the first big show we were aware of since Beast Wars. It was airing on Toonami, highly promoted, Transformers Armada. So we tuned in for the premiere two-parter, and we're like, oh no.
Transformers Armada, the one with the That's when they went full Pokemon there.
Yeah, the minicons. We gotta collect all the minicons. And let's make the most of the show about these 3 obnoxious, bland kids. What? The main kid is named Rad. I mean, it opens up and they're like on a bike and a scooter and a skateboard, and then the mini-cons turn into skateboard and
no.
The 2 funny things I just want to say briefly. One, they have basically a Bulk and Squall equivalent, only with 0% of the charm. But when the fat one started talking, I went, holy shit, it's Eddie. From Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yeah.
Only it's like he's Double D now. He's so like insecure. He has a line like, my therapist says I don't have to take that from you. It's nuts. And 2, I'll also give them one thing. The robot designs in this are better than Robots in Disguise. I actually really like what they did with Megatron. They gave him these like stag beetle looking horns, which Robots in Disguise kind of did, but it was more frilly and just weird looking. Megatron in this does look badass, and they got David Kaye back, thankfully.
See where I'm at with Armada, because I mean I was kind of it came out when I was just getting into college, so honestly I was kind of excited about it.
I was still in high school.
And I saw the first episode, and I thought the first episode had some pretty okay animation, especially when Megatron and Optimus decided
the animation isn't too bad. I think the human designs are very bland.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. So I'm watching, I'm like, all right, not bad. They're obviously pulling the Pokemon thing. I don't mind it. I like this Megatron. That's fine. And then the second episode happens, and per the rule for early anime, when the first episode has very strong animation and the second episode don't, man, it takes a dive. Because
there's not any good writing to back it up.
Megatron gets one of those mini fuckers or whatever. Yeah, he puts it on his arm, and he gets like a bigger gun. And he's like, yeah, and he starts like firing at Optimus, and he's like rolling backwards and like, yeah, boom, 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 and then he falls backwards in a span of less than 2 frames. He just goes backwards, and he's like firing on the ground as he's still going backwards. So I'm like, holy shit, that didn't last long at all. Wow, Armada is not good.
I gave up on it real quick. And the really crazy thing is, it got 2 sequel series.
Yes, it did.
Energon and something else. Basically, it formed a whole trilogy of shows, and the sequel shows, in a way, they looked worse because they made all the Transformers cel-shaded CG, and they did not execute it very well.
You know, that's kind of my issue with the new Transformers.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
So moving on, there's also after that, I think this was the first show to happen after the Bayformers series started and made the series kind of big again, and that is Transformers Animated, which I believe ran on Kids WB. This is an interesting one because the animated is no joke. The art style in this is kind of crazy. The robots and humans alike are super cartoony and stylized and lanky and angular.
When I saw Optimus, honestly, I wasn't a kid when this came out. Obviously, I was like in my early 20s when that came out.
Same.
But looking at those character designs, I was not a fan of them. It felt like that. They were very streamlined, but not quite Bruce Timm.
I like the human designs; they're very expressive. I don't think it's too. Optimus looks weird in this show, especially because I've never liked when they've given him a mouth. I think a character generally look more badass if they have like a face mask or plate like he normally does, and both the mouth combined with this design does not suit him very well. Also, David Kaye, this is the one time where he voiced Optimus instead of Megatron, and he is not as good as Peter Cullen.
Yeah,
and they do some. Optimus in this is kind of more. He's less of like a veteran and hero, more of a rookie, up and coming. Which I don't know how I feel about that. But actually, the voice acting in general is very good. A lot of veteran VAs in this, like Tom Kenny is Starscream, so he sounds like an evil SpongeBob. Jeff Bennett, who's at a ton of stuff, is like that police chief and one of the proper Autobots. Chris Summers, kind of the new Spider Decepticon, and Tara Strong is the one kid in this who seems better than the kids from the first 2 shows we talked about, though the 2 episodes still don't let me know how much I'd like her overall, but they have some good moments with her. Like, she sneaks into Bumblebee when they're going to an underwater base, and she's like, so will I be able to breathe down here? And he goes, sure, what's breathe mean? There's some good jokes in it, and like it seems like there's a decent foundation being set up. And apparently, one of the reasons that the show looks the way it does, you can thank Felipe from Generation Animation for cluing me in on this. One of the main producers and like art directors for this he works on Teen Titans, which you can kind of get that vibe with the humans in particular, and he also created Super Robot Team Monkey Force. And he also more recently worked on the Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles, which I really like. And so he does kind of he has a visual identity in the kind of stuff he works on, I feel. And I don't think it looks bad on its own, but it is such a very odd fit for Transformers. But the show itself seems all right.
Yeah. Here's the thing about me and Transformers. It's that, and I think this goes along the lines of how Michael Bay kind of approaches his films. Because when I watch anything that's based in uber fantasy or so ridiculous that there's no way it could be possible, but that's why it's fun. Transformers, I really couldn't get into as they were after Beast Wars and Beast Machines, because I never felt like they were taking the narrative wasn't being taken seriously.
Yeah, it's sci-fi.
Either through animation or either through the action or even the entire narrative. I didn't feel like that the shows like Armada or Energon or even where we're at now with not where we're at now, but even with what we're talking about now with Transformers Animated, it came off to me as pandering toy nonsense, which is, that's what cartoons are made of.
I feel like you're being a little bit harsh on this. The last two shows we talked about, those are pandering toy nonsense.
Well, that's the vibe I got from Transformers being robots. I'm not saying
it didn't make me cringe.
Yeah, that's
Transformers the company as a whole.
As a whole, the entire franchise itself is why didn't take a giant swan dive into it like I did with say Pokemon or anything else, is because I didn't feel the sense of that this is a thing that you can really be a part of. That was me at the time. But after Animated is when I started to take another second look.
Are we ready to tackle Prime?
I'm ready to tackle Prime.
All right, guys. I think we might be on the same boat with this. This was far and away the best one I watched of these.
Prime was amazing. Prime was one of my favorites.
It's crazy because it's been on Netflix for a couple of years, and I remember I watched the first episode like 2 years ago and was very underwhelmed by it. But then I watched it in the first episode and I was like, I must have been having a shitty day. This is there's a lot of effort put into this.
There's a lot of good characterization in Transformers Prime.
Even in the humans.
And one of the things which I think you would enjoy is that one of the references that they pulled from Transformers Prime is the relationship between the humans and the robots from Iron Giant. And I actually felt that in the first couple of episodes. And even though having human characters is always a detriment to the Transformers franchise, I kind of wish there were more of them, even though a lot of people didn't like the girl
character. It doesn't feel like a detriment here. They did it right.
I felt like they did,
Also, the show looks great. Like, obviously, just the visual quality in general is a step up from Beast Wars, but the designs are good. The robots and humans are really emotive. There's good detail, good action choreography.
There was great acting. There was great choreography. The action scenes were amazing. There was great camera work and
good jokes, good timing, good setup. Also, this show is probably the most violent of the ones we watched. Because in the first episode, Starscream on screen impales this captured Autobot. He bleeds out and dies. And then the next episode, because I guess the idea is they realize Dark Energon can revive the dead, but only as like zombie. Like, so they revive this guy again, only to cut him in half. Like, he doesn't stick around. They bring him back to kill him again. And I was like, wow. I mean, obviously the censors are like, well, it's not human, so go ahead. But it's like, these are still living things. So it's fucked up what this guy goes through.
These aren't human beings. These are characters. These are living things that are being sliced open and mutilated. That's how I felt.
They are still characters people care about, because I've heard so many horror stories about people who were traumatized when Optimus died in the original animated movie. Like, fans of Transformers do love these robots.
Because there have been times when I'm watching Transformers renditions and, both sides are shooting at each other with these taser guns. And I'm like, what are y'all shooting for? Like, you're both made of metal. The tasers are just bouncing off of you. Like, there's no point of shooting at each other.
The Optimus Prime death, he dies from lasers to the chest. So in some versions, they actually have effect. But in most shows, it's the Stormtrooper effect. Like, can't kill anyone, can't get hurt.
For the most part, whenever characters have guns, when the show isn't taking itself too seriously, then the guns are there just to show that we're shooting you,
right.
we're making the first offense, and they even do this in the new in Robots in Disguise,
yes.
and I'm like, you don't need those.
You don't need those.
But when we come back to Prime, and there's a point where Optimus and Megatron, and God, I love those two in this show.
Yes, they do.
Peter Cullen and Frank Welker back.
Yeah, when Peter Cullen and Frank Welker are just duking it out, and you see Prime just beating the shit out of Megatron. You see Dark Energon symbolizes blood coming out of Megatron.
Yeah.
And that shit is awesome.
Yeah.
And is this the first one we're talking about that has Peter Cullen? Because that's kind of crazy. It is.
Yeah,
it might be the only one.
That's Prime has the original Peter Cullen and Frank Welker in it.
That man is irreplaceable. I feel Peter Cullen. Like, there's a reason he's a such hero worship among fans. That's such a good voice for that kid Optimus is. And
this show, I mean, some of the things that it pulls off with Megatron and
Starscream,
not Starscream.
I love that they touch
awesome.
in the first premiere. They talk about they used to be allies, and the war corrupted him. That's a great angle to take with Megatron. That if there's a tragedy to him.
This show was made for G1 fans, I can tell, because they definitely went back into the backstory of how
the lore,
what it means to be a Prime, and what Megatron, how big a threat Megatron is. Like, not only is he the undisputed king of Decepticons, but he's probably one of the most powerful Transformers there.
Prime gave purpose to all of the Wikipedia research I did for this podcast. I was like, I'm reading all of this lore and everything, and then I'm watching the show, and I'm like, everything I just read, pages upon pages of Wikipedia and Google, is useless when I'm watching all of these except for Prime and the good shows that we've been talking about. It's just like, now they're actually using the lore and using all of this story plot that
right. I also want to touch on why I think this is the best show in terms of handling humans to Transformers. One, the three kids are capable and not annoying, and they're distinct. I love the fact the main one, Jack, his initial response is not to be like, this is radical, I want to do this. He's like, I'm just going to go home and forget about all this and play it safe. And they're like, no, it doesn't work like that. And then you have the little geeky kid who is bonding he's bonding with Bumblebee and able to help them with their technology. And then what's the girl, Miko?
Yeah. A lot of people did not like her.
I liked her in the premiere.
I actually liked her because of how well she fit with Bulkhead. Now, she can be loud and obnoxious and annoying, and I do feel that the show kind of needed that at some point. But I can also, a lot of G1 fans did not like her because there was another female human girl back in the old series who actually went to MIT or went to college or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, yeah, but she was still boring.
I love the fact that the reason she gets involved, because Jack and the geeky kid got attacked head on, but hers is that she just sees him in an alley talking to RC, and she just sneaks up and goes, "Say yes, go with her, and I'll come too."
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, there are times when I'm just like, I'm going to need you to shut up for just a second.
Yeah, probably later.
So the transforming robots can actually fight.
Also, it's a more minor character, but the government agent who's keeping tabs on them, that is handled so much better than the Bay movies, where you just have these mustache twirling agents like, we need you to shut down. This guy is more about actually taking responsibility and being like, you need to have us get involved with this too. You need to open up to us. Yeah. And do you know who voiced him?
Who voiced him?
I could not place it, so I looked it up. That is Ernie Hudson.
That's Ernie Hudson?
Yeah.
Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Winston.
No way. That is him.
Yeah, he's still around.
Holy shit. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't place it, so I was like, for a second I thought it sounded like Keith David, but I was like, I don't know. But then, it's Winston. Good.
Okay. Hold on. There is this point in Transformers Prime, and I think it's around second or third season, when the main human character, Jack, his mom, is told the secret of the Autobots and their existence, and she actually comes to their base. And she meets Optimus, and she's like overwhelmed with this amazing world that Jack's now gotten into. And she turns to Jack, and she's like, Jack, if you know that I'm going to be, and if I knew that I was going to be here, I would have worn something a little nicer. And I'm like, what? Are you attracted to Optimus Prime? And seeing that scene, I know for a fact that every fangirl of Transformers felt that and high-fived collectively, because that scene was great. That whole scene was like, oh wow, okay.
That voice is awesome.
Yeah, it was. There are a lot of small but very important things that Prime does that a lot of the old Transformers shows don't really do. And it's not just about the violence that is super cool,
it's the writing.
super wacky. It's the writing.
Yes,
it's the way that the characters are portrayed and how they deal with each other.
This is another one, like I was saying, like Beast Wars, like just a true sense of effort with the way it's written, the way it's acted, the way it's animated. Just this kind of spoiled me on Transformers cartoons, I feel, because this is just far and away the best one.
Honestly, after watching Prime, I have no need for Michael Bay Transformers.
Not at all.
At all. Like, there's a point where Optimus Prime and Megatron, they have long monologues throughout this entire show, and you can really see that as corny, but it's when you're hearing all the other characters mingle or fight or combat one another, it doesn't. You get a sense of scale, but you don't get the sense of purpose of what this war truly encompasses.
Yeah. The movies lack purpose behind its action.
Definitely, it gives you the scale. Like, look at this giant orb.
They give you spectacle, but nothing to back it up.
Yeah,
and actually, there's one thing about in Prime that I blame the movies for. Whose idea was it that Bumblebee shouldn't talk?
Yeah, that was a bad choice. Really bad choice.
Yeah, which Timer's frame, but that actually ties into the last story we're going to talk about, the 2015 ongoing Robots in Disguise, which is apparently a sequel to this show. Only one to not have Optimus as a main character, because I guess he dies at the end of Prime.
Yeah.
There's like they're going by a memorial of him, but his ghost is speaking to Bumblebee, who's the main character, can thankfully talk, and is voiced by Will Friedle, which I appreciate. But this show is a mixed bag. One thing I'll say, start off, it looks strange.
Oh, you're talking about the newest one.
The current Robots in Disguise. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it, but the way it looks, it's the characters are all now cell shaded and given like lower frame rates, which I never like when they're trying to do cell shading. But the environments they appear to be hand painted backgrounds, which is kind of neat, but.
Well, when we looked at the backgrounds, me and Serena are watching Robots in Disguise 2015 earlier today. One of the things that kind of jumped out on us was these 2D painted backgrounds.
Yeah, it's interesting. They look good.
And you know what? That works in some cases, but in other cases, all right. Here's a case where it worked. Bumblebee fighting a Sharkticon robot. We have nothing but blue sky and clouds, and a little bit of the background of the ship that they're fighting on. It's okay because you get a sense of composition. You get a sense. You get a clear silhouette of Bumblebee. You get a nice shot of the Sharkticon in the foreground, and not only that, but the sky is clear. You're able to read the shot and see it for what it is. But there are times when the camera is super close on a robot, and the robots are in the forest.
They're on the ground.
They're on the ground, but the 2D leaves in the background. You can obviously see creases in the background. Like, I'm not sure if that's artifacting or whether or not that's just depth of field coming up, but it looks sloppy when you're up against some complications going on.
There's
I also
too
don't
many
like
in the image that aren't moving.
Yeah.
Because it's a still image. So now all of a sudden you got these moving robots that supposedly with this moving camera and the background should be moving, but it's not.
I also don't like the character design as much. The robots all just kind of very samey looking faces now.
They kind of do.
Humans look kind of bland too. Actual animation is not bad other than the technical issues you mentioned. Voice acting is pretty good.
Well,
I think the show's generally competent outside of some weird art decisions, but after Prime, this feels a lot more standard.
This seems like a bit of a step back where
does.
they're not taking it quite as seriously as how Prime took itself, which, okay, you can do that. But there are points where I'm just like, you guys are getting too goofy for your own good.
Can we go there?
Hold on, I forgot my overall point, but I think we can.
Okay.
There's a point where, again, Bumblebee is fighting a Sharkticon robot. A lot of these Decepticons, they're having their logos like placed haphazardly, like all around their body. The shark robot, mind you, is suffering from bat nipple syndrome, where he has the Decepticon logos on his nipples. And
wait, where his nipples would be, or does he have nipples with the logos on top?
Where his nipples would be.
Okay.
He has Decepti-nipples, and he's just running around. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just running around like I am the king of this, or some terrible Australian accent that I'm trying to pull off.
Crikey.
He's like, I am the king of the sea, and this is my water. It comes off as Texan or whatever.
I was gonna say you're from Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm staring. I'm like, you got logos on your nipples, man. I'm not sure how seriously I should take you at the moment.
But the scene happens, and I'll pass this off. The scene happens. Bumblebee is fighting this shark Decepticon. Some oil slicks. So oil is on the floor. They're oil skiing. You have an Aussie shark with Decepti-nipples. There was one other point.
There's dubstep playing in the background.
Dubstep playing in the background.
Okay.
And it was just like there was so many things happening at us. We were like, I'm shutting off. We're done.
It is funny though. I'd still say this show I didn't view it as terrible, but more mediocre.
No,
it is the most blah of all. Okay, maybe later on, but it is the most blah to me of all the shows we've discussed. Like the animes were terrible. Animated was uneven for me, and then Beast Wars and Prime were easily the best. So this is just there's so few peaks and valleys in it.
This show took a few surprising steps back from Prime, and I say that because Prime did this too, where they had a human character, and it took a while for these amazing, crazy, but radical things happening to these kids, but don't tell your parents. And then they finally told their parents. Robots in Disguise 2015. They tell the parent like right away, like,
I like that.
These are robots coming at us.
I like that.
But mind you, the scale of these robots, the fact that these robots are here and they're here to cause some like serious damage, that kind of weight doesn't come across in the show.
It is a much lighter toned show. There's nothing like the things we're talking about. This is just kind of vanilla.
Now, I do give this show credit for playing against that trope, because I am so fucking tired. I was tired of it in Prime. I was tired of it in Troll Hunters. So it's a little refreshing.
I give it credit for making a Transformers show without Optimus.
Yeah,
very true.
He comes back later, I'm guessing.
Well,
even the original show resurrected him because of all the backlash from the movie.
He comes back in the second episode. So
never mind.
There's some really dumb writing in this show.
Okay,
like,
he's still a ghost in the first episode.
There's some good quips here and there. Like some lines got a genuine.
I like the little. The tech robot who crash lands on Earth and just sends them a distress signal and then starts fanboying over them.
Yeah, his name is Fix It or something. The orange guy? Yeah.
Yes, little wheel leg.
Yeah, there are some good lines in the show.
I thought he was a child Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think this show is terrible. It's just bland.
Yeah, there's a point. Okay, so to help with the blandness. So we're talking about human characters, how human characters get in a way that they shouldn't really be in a Transformers show. My deal with human characters is that if you're going to have a kid should act like a human and not like, Dad, you're so uncool. Man, my dad is lame. And this kid in Robots in Disguise, who I think is voiced by Aang from Last Airbender, and he does a good job. This kid is that cliche, where it's like he has a dad who's super excited about his job, who's always there, or at least from what we've seen, is always there for his son. Cooks him breakfast, loves him to death. Yeah. And this kid is like, but I'm in a junkyard working with my dad.
Oh, so he just comes off as a shit.
Yeah, and then like the radical cool cars show up and he's like, wow, this car can transform and it's actually a real person.
You're way better than my dad.
Yeah, maybe I should go save my dad, I guess. I'm like, God, I hate you, kid. I hate that cliche so much. But there's only so many things you can do with that, and I would like it more if that kind of emotion was motivated. Because if his dad was like, I don't know, kind of disrespectful to him, but still kind of loves him in his own shitty way, then I could feel that way. Yeah. But but his dad literally gives him a breakfast of sunny side up eggs with a smiley shaped bacon, and the kid's like, ugh. And
that comes off as genuinely likable in that perspective.
Yeah, he turns the bacon upside down. I'm like, you piece of shit. He loves you. What's wrong with you?
Spoiled. But I guess this is a good time to start wrapping things up. But so I'll just go real quick through everything we discussed. The 2001 Robots in Disguise may be so bad it's good. Armada I do not like. Robots in Disguise current one is meh. Animated, it is kind of peaks and vouch from what I've seen, but Beast Wars and Prime I think are definitely worth checking out, especially because Prime's all on Netflix. So.
I don't know. Robots in Disguise 2015 has the dub-stepping Aussie shark robot skiing
with Decepti-nipples.
When you say it like
with
that.
Decepti-nipples.
When you say it like that, of course you gotta watch it. That's on Netflix too, so it's not like it will
needs
cost
to
you.
be in the meeting notes.
Oh my god.
What does Decepti-nipples?
Yes.
Decepti-nipples?
Maybe that should be the screen cap, the image for the episode, the thumbnail.
Speed lines.
The speed lines from anime. Oh.
I mean, just to kind of paint the picture of how bad this scene was, it happened 3 times. And each of the 3 times, this Aussie shark, Decepti-nipples skiing on oil happened 3 times for 5 seconds each time.
So it's copying from the first Robots in Disguise, where it's like the shot of the kid in the truck just staring 3 times.
Oh, let's get back to the Robots in Disguise bit really quick, because these robots are clearly transforming into cars.
Oh my god, that was my point earlier.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, last thing, I promise.
Okay,
so the title is Robots in Disguise. The first scene is Bumblebee and his partner in Cybertron.
Right.
Fine. Okay. Why are you in disguise? Who are you hiding from if all of your peers on your home planet are like you?
Now,
wouldn't the cars be faster?
Yeah, the cars should be faster.
They're not being in disguise yet. They're in disguise on an Earth.
They're in disguise on Earth, but they're still rolling around on cars. That's the kind of wonky disbelief that you kind of have to put yourself into for Transformers. But when they get to Earth, they obviously transform into cars, and they scan each car and become
the cars are ginormous.
The cars are ginormous. But here's another caveat for you. So there's this one red car. I forget his name. Sideswipe, I guess.
Sideswipe.
Yeah.
So,
I refer to him as. Have either of you ever played Ace Attorney?
I know of Ace Attorney, so I know what you're getting at.
Quote unquote hair is just like Larry Butt's.
Yeah, I'm like, why do you have anime hair? My objection.
It's still better than the 2001 anime.
Yes, it is. But,
anything is pretty much.
So he scans a car. No, he doesn't even get to that point. We're not even at the point where he scans a car.
Oh.
So he before he even scans the car and becomes like a true car, he and little brat kid are running through the forest and trying to avoid this big bad country talking Decepticon, and the red car like transforms into a Cybertronian car, and he opens his door and he's like, get in, and the kid gets into a seat, a human shaped seat, and puts on a seatbelt. Who needs that on Cybertron?
They just came from Cybertron, so you would still have your Cybertron model car. There are no humans there.
There are no humans.
You guys have had so much to say about this show that just came off as like a nothing show to me.
We're aspiring writers, so we're thinking about this. Like, where's the lore should make sense here? What human is on Cybertron where you need to buckle them in?
Because the 10 minutes prior to that, they made a joke that was like, the kid was like, "Oh, my dad is in danger," and they were like, "Oh no. What's a dad?" So they kept the lore there, but they didn't keep the lore with not needing a seat or a seatbelt.
Are there any baby Transformers in Cybertron, or are they all?
That was my confusion with Fix-It, because my understanding when I saw it, I didn't know his name was Fix-It. I was like, why is there a child Bumblebee? Do robots grow up?
They can get upgrades. I don't know.
That's usually my stopping point where I have to go like, okay, I'm gonna think around this and just enjoy the show.
Detour.
Yeah, we do need to start wrapping things up, though. We're reaching the time we're aiming for, but
Robots in Disguise 2015, it's not bad. It's going to take me a little while to get into, but it's got
all three of us. Go one more time, Tyrone.
It is the kiddie version of Prime. I mean, like it is. Like, I hate to make this comparison because it makes me cringe thinking about it, but if Prime was like almost Adult Swimish, Robots in Disguise would be the 4Kids TV version of that.
Ooh.
Or how about that might be too harsh. I think it might be
Fox Kids TV?
No, Magoozy. Does anyone remember Maguzi?
I remember Maguzi, yeah. Totally Spies, Code Lyoko.
I'll take that.
Yeah, Toonami had like an offshoot kiddie version.
Yeah, it was Toonami Jr.
Yeah.
But just quick recap, definitely watch Beast Wars and Prime, and the others. Seek out what you want based on what we've said about each one.
I would watch Beast Machines than these other ones, honestly. But
yeah,
then
Beast Machines seemed interesting from what I saw. We just didn't have much time to talk about it. But to another wrapping things up, Tyrone, since you mentioned Elements Light, where can they find it and you on social media if they want to learn more?
You can tweet me at Tyrone Hydraulic, TYRONE HYDRAULIC. You can search me on Facebook, Tyrone Selby, and the comic you can find on Facebook, Elements of Light, Twitter, Elements of Light, and you can actually find the webcomic itself, eolcomic.blogspot.com.
Cool. Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Christoph the Wade. You can find me on Facebook at Christopher Wade. I got a very happy avatar.
We joked about it. The happy black guy cartoon show.
The happy cartoon black guy avatar. You can find me on Facebook. I will also be putting a link to the animatic of my film, The Will of Monsters, on over. I'll be sending it over to John so he can post it up right next to this video or
in the show
audio.
Notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely send that. Watch that, people. It's really cool. As for myself, you can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube, mainly all under the same username, Behonkiss, BEHONKISS. I also run this show's Twitter account at SketchWatchPlay, one word. Same thing on Facebook. I've started toying with the idea of posting bonus images. An alternate thumbnail I'll never use for our Final Fantasy 15 episode, which is an image of Gladiolus with the caption "Uncle Daddy Boyfriend" was just put up, and I'm sure someday I'll do holographic wife images. But Chris, just for the record, you're free to come up with some recurring joke about me as well as payback. Though again, I blame Colin for starting that whole kerfuffle.
I'll be sure to.
Before we go, I should definitely talk about our next episode. I had a phone call with Chris a couple weeks ago. We just brainstormed about a bunch of things we could talk about, and I'm a big lover of So Bad It's Good, kind of like we talked about with that first Transformers anime, and also guilty pleasures, like something that is just I know is bad, but I still I find fascinating.
So get ready for.
We are going to talk about one of the more infamous Hollywood adaptations out there. We are tackling the 1993 classic Super Mario Brothers. Bob Hoskins, Dennis Hopper, John Leguizamo, and a bunch of nonsense.
Failed me for the last time against Starscream.
I'm so sorry, Lord Megan. It was so trippy when I heard Steve Bloom playing Starscream in Prime 2.
Oh, man.
You could hear like Amon and Spike Spiegel in there.
Starscream is literally one of the best things about Prime.
Yeah, but yeah, we're going to talk Super Mario Brothers, and we'll see what kind of opening stuff we have. That's going to be quite entertaining. But thanks to everyone who was patient with us during our little hiatus. We'll try and get back to the bi-weekly schedule. Don't be surprised if we skip a week or so, but hey, we'll do what we can. But I am John Fleury.
I'm Christopher Wade.
I'm Tyrone.
And transform and roll out. I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry I said that so unenthusiastically. I just improvised it.
Oh, it's okay. It's all good.
Later, folks.